On the news, federal government affirms commitment to bring down inflation, improve economy. Senate urges federal government to declare known leaders of terrorists wanted. And 40 killed, many wounded as Russia invades Ukraine. Glad to have you join us on News Now. I am Mary Kanu. The Nigerian embassy in Ukraine has asked citizens in the East European country to remain calm and take responsibility for their personal security and safety. The warning contained in an embassy notice released on Thursday comes as Russian President Vladimir Putin announced a military operation in Ukraine with explosions heard soon after across the country, and its foreign minister warning a full-scale invasion was underway. The embassy added that any Nigerian national with consideration of temporary relocation to anywhere considered safe by private arrangements should ensure that they do all the needful to validate all their resident documents for ease of return to the country when desired. And Nigerians may now look forward to the signing of the reworked Electoral Act Amendment Bill on Friday, February the 25th, 2022. The Office of the President had earlier on Wednesday indicated that the signing would take place, but made corrections revealing the President would honor the new date. This is just as the presence of the Senate President and the Speaker of the House of Representatives at the Federal Executive Council meeting gave indications that the Electoral Act Amendment Bill by the President was going to take place. But more details in this next report. The presence of the Senate President Ahmed Lawan and Speaker of the House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila at the Council chamber was an earlier indication that the President would finally append his signature on the re-amended Electoral Act Amendment Bill, but all speculations were brought to a halt moment after. The President instead swore in 6 National Electoral Commissioners of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) before the commencement of the Council meeting. The Council meeting then proceeded with discussions about the recent reports released by the National Bureau of Statistics indicating a 3.98% growth in gross domestic product. The Minister of State for Budget and National Planning notes that in spite of the recent growth, the federal government will continue to improve on the nation's inflation rate.
The economy is being worked on, is a work in progress. I can't give you a definitive date when inflation is going to be below 10%. But the fact that we say that there is inflation means that the prices are high and is being worked on.
The Minister of Works and Housing also addressed the consistent traffic gridlock on the Abuja-Kefi Expressway, appealing to commuters for patience.
Almost about 15 to 20,000 vehicles, if not more, use that corridor now almost on a daily basis. We wish we could shut it down so that we can have uninterrupted construction operations, but unfortunately that's not possible. So while we manage traffic, people have to drive through a construction site we're building. So please bear with us. We will do the best that we can.
The Council also approved a revised Science, Technology and Innovation policy instituted 10 years ago. The Minister says it is aimed at improving the standard of living of Nigerians.
To see Nigeria using this policy to be one of the top leaders in one of the top scientific powers in the world. We believe that this will help our country to keep narrowing the gap between us and the technologically developed countries of the world. And ultimately, once we achieve that, we should be able also to overtake the way nations like China, has done. Nigeria should be able to do so.
A total of 58 billion naira contract awards was also approved by the Federal Executive Council for projects under the Ministry of Works and Housing and the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Social Development and Disaster Management. Mary Kanu, TV360, Nigeria. And President Muhammadu Buhari has paid an official visit to Nasarawa State to commission some projects executed by the federal and state governments. The president, who arrived in Lafia, Nasarawa State capital, around on Thursday, first inspected the Lafia Cargo Airport before inaugurating other projects. Received by the state governor Abdullahi Sule and other dignitaries on his two-day visit to the state, President Buhari is also expected to commission some projects such as the new Central Bank of Nigeria building and a mini power transmission station. Nigeria's First Lady Aisha Buhari on Wednesday attended plenary sessions in the National Assembly to support an item for amendment in the 1999 Constitution to allow female legislators in the country to have more seats in the chamber. This is as the ad hoc committee submitted its report on the Constitution amendment to the chamber. The Senate President, who received the First Lady, however, assured her that the 9th Assembly, while voting on the amendments to the Constitution, would ensure that women's participation and governance is commensurate with their population. Our correspondent Abisola Adebayo has the story.
First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, and her entourage walking into the Senate chamber to witness the laying of the 1999 Constitution Review Report. This visit is quite historic, as this is the very first time a serving First Lady of the country is attending plenary of both chambers at the National Assembly. President of the Senate immediately suspends Rule 12 subsection 1 privileges of the floor to admit the wife of the President into the plenary. The First Lady's visit is to show her support for women's political empowerment and gender parity in the proposed Constitution amendment.
This is a report on the Constitution Review, and the presence of the First Lady is especially to show her support for one of the bills that want to create an affirmative action for more female parliamentarians in both chambers. This, we believe, will help in nation building, as such significant participation by our women will add value to not only legislation, but the much desired and needed national development.
Senate President Ahmed Lawan maintained that the 9th Assembly is committed to ensure inclusion of all segments of the society in the country's decision-making.
For us, as a nation, our motto is unity and faith, peace and progress. We believe that all hands must be on deck to ensure the participation of each and every segment of our society. You will all agree with me that our women have not been able to get that level of participation commensurate with their population as reflected in our demography.
Speaking to journalists after the meeting, the First Lady further emphasized the importance of female inclusion in Parliament.
We observe the proceedings of constitutional review about women, and also to listen to the proceedings also concerning the 35 affirmative action about women and special additional seats for women in the National Assembly.
The lawmakers are expected to begin voting on the Constitution from March 2nd, 2022 to complete the process in the National Assembly, after which to now be transmitted to the different state assemblies for the same process. Abisola Adebayo, TV360 News.
The Federal High Court in Abuja has ordered the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency (NDLEA) to respond to a bail request filed by the suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari, who is being held by the Anti-Narcotics Agency over his alleged involvement in a 25-kilogram cocaine deal. Kyari, a former head of the IGP Intelligence Response Team, instituted a lawsuit to regain his freedom after he was handed over to the NDLEA by the police in Abuja concerning the pending allegations of drug crime. At Thursday's hearing, the NDLEA's lawyer Mike Kassa informed the judge Inyang Ekwo that the agency had not been served with Kyari's pending application for bail, while the agency's Director of Legal Services, Joseph Sunday, announced appearance and asked for an adjournment of the case to enable his agency respond to the embattled Kyari's bail request. Subsequently, Justice Ekwo ordered lawyers to parties in the suit to put their house in order and adjourn the suit until February 28th for the hearing of the bail application. And out of security matters, the efforts of the Nigerian military to engender peace and protect lives and property across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country over the past couple of weeks received a massive boost. During the set period, the troops killed the leader of Rijal Armed Special Forces, Mohammed Yusuf, while the notorious bandit leader, Dogo Umaru, and scores of his foot soldiers also fell to the superior firepower of the military. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Bernard Oyuko, revealed this at the bi-weekly briefing on the operations conducted by the military and other security agencies to tackle insecurity between February 10 to 24, 2022. Oyuko also confirmed that 466 Boko Haram and ISWAP terrorists and their families surrendered to the Nigerian troops, just as he added that the onslaught against economic saboteurs is fast gaining momentum.
Own troops operational activities was conducted in Bama, Mafa, Dikwa, Gamboru, Banking Junction, and Konduga in Borno State. This led to the surrendering of 466 Boko Haram and Islamic State of West African Province terrorists and their families, comprising of 120 adult males, 137 adult females, and 209 children, with the claim that they have lost interest in the Boko Haram terrorist ideology. Relatedly, on 11 February, the air component of Operation Hadinkai carried out air interdictions at Bokar Mairam village in Marati local government area. In the process, Mohammed Yusuf, the leader of the Regional Armed Special Forces, was neutralized. Additionally, 20 abducted civilians were rescued by own troops. The surrendered terrorists and arrested criminals have been properly documented and handed over to appropriate security agencies for necessary action. The ongoing operation in Delta Safe to curb the nation of economic saboteurs is still ongoing. The troops conducted several clearance operations in different locations. Troops within the period under review recovered a total of 1,118,175 liters of automotive gas oil, 2,086,000 liters of stolen crude oil. Similarly, troops discovered 38 refining sites, 100 metal storage tanks, 25 dugout pits, 75 cooking ovens, 20 Cotonou boats, 35 Yamaha pumping machines, 18 coolants, as well as 10 tankers were recovered.
And still in security matters, the Nigerian Senate has called on President Muhammadu Buhari to declare all known leaders of terrorists wanted. The call was made in a 6-point resolution reached by the chamber following a motion considered on the urgent need to stem the increase in spate of kidnappings and insecurity across parts of the country. Sponsor of the bill, Senator Bala Ibinala, in his presentation, noted with concern the current rise in security challenges in Danko, Wasagu, and Sakaba local government areas of Kebbi State.
Urgent step is not taken, and a decisive action is not taken to curtail this security situation. The situation may further deteriorate into a very huge humanitarian crisis for the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and in particular, the government of Kebbi State Niger, and neighboring Zamfara. Accordingly, the Senate resolves to call on the federal government and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria to deploy massively the military and other law enforcement agencies to conduct a rigorous operation that will bring an end to the banditry and cattle rustling in the affected area.
Some lawmakers, however, attributed the problem of insecurity to the growing army of out-of-school children, practice of early marriages, and abject poverty, especially in the north, and called on the federal government to apply policies to curb the trends.
If sitting down here by 2025, then we say have another 20 million children out of school. Unless we have a comprehensive approach to all this issue, the security issue in this country will continue to get worse. So all this ad hoc reaction and the police, the army, the tornado, and everybody, it's not going to work. We must have a comprehensive approach. And declare a martial law against out-of-school children. Look at how do we reduce all this. Find all this poverty issue.
Immigration should wake up. There are a lot of foreigners in Niger State. Niger State has become like a heaven of Boko Haram. Nobody is doing anything.
Why can't we support the creation of state policing? The security is getting off hand in this country. This is time for us to forget about personal interests and support the creation of state policing. We need to support them. If truly governors are the chief security officers of their states, they must be able to have control of the policing in their respective states.
We have had series of discussions on security and the need to review the security architecture. We should continue to insist on this until we get the kind of outcome that will safeguard the lives and property of Nigerians.
And the governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, says the Nigerian military was reluctant to bomb bandits because of concerns about facing the International Criminal Court. Speaking on Thursday at a media briefing at the presidential villa, El-Rufai said he had advised the federal government to declare bandits as terrorists in 2017, revealing that he was informed that it would be difficult to declare bandits as terrorists because they do not have single command like Boko Haram and ISWAP. The governor, however, said with the latest declaration of activities of all bandit groups in the country as acts of terrorism, he believes the army now has the necessary legal backing to go after bandits.
We made representation to the federal government to declare these bandits as terrorists. But based on advice, it was said that since they don't have single command and control, the way Boko Haram, ISWAP, and terrorists are, it is difficult to declare them insurgents. But I'm happy that, by the ruling of the Federal High Court, they have now been declared terrorists, so they are fair game. Because the military were afraid of bombing them and then facing ICC. Media, civil society always rise to protect those that are at the receiving end of something, not looking at the victims of those people sometimes. And no general wants to retire, and then you go to the US and they arrest you and say that you've bombed civilians and so on and so forth. So there was reluctance on the part of the military, but with this declaration by the Federal High Court now, I think we can go after them.
Well, we'll take a break now, but still to come, Minister of Petroleum Resources says rising oil prices not good for Nigeria. We'll bring you details of the story and more right after this break. We're glad to have you back. Here's a recap of our top story tonight. The Nigerian embassy in Ukraine has asked citizens in the East European country to remain calm and take responsibility for their personal security and safety. The warning contained in an embassy notice released on Thursday comes as Russian President Vladimir Putin announced a military operation in Ukraine with explosions heard soon after across the country, and its foreign minister warning a full-scale invasion was underway. Well, in case you missed any of the news bulletin or for more updates, to log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. And now to COVID-19 stories and updates. Within the past few weeks, Nigeria has maintained a trend of low infections and fatalities from the coronavirus pandemic. The situation is not the same with other countries of the world, as the World Health Organization has announced that for last week alone, about 68,000 deaths were recorded from the pandemic globally. Well, this comes as the Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) on Thursday reported 42 fresh infections across 4 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The country's epicenter of the virus, Lagos State, topped the chart with 25 infections, while the FCT and Kaduna logged 13 and 2 cases respectively, with no fatality recorded in the country. With the newly confirmed cases, a total of 254,394 infections have been recorded, with 3,142 fatalities. And a high delegation from Gavi, the Global Vaccine Alliance, on Thursday arrived in Nigeria to inspect the National Strategic Cold Store in Abuja to assess and evaluate storage conditions for vaccines and the level of their usage. The inspection is part of an accountability framework aimed at ensuring equitable distribution and usage of all vaccines, including COVID-19 vaccines donated to partners. The delegation was also scheduled to visit some primary healthcare centers in order to assess the value of healthcare investments made over the years. But we'll take a break now and return with business updates. To stay with us.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the go-to app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Welcome back. Well, Abisola Adebayo is standing by with the latest in the world of business. Abisola, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mary. Welcome to Business News. In the face of rising crude oil prices, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Temi Silva, has condemned the increase in prices, saying it is not good for the country. The minister made the assertion during a recent interview, explaining that Nigeria's comfort zone in terms of oil prices was between $70 and $80 per barrel. Meanwhile, on Thursday, the global oil benchmark Brent crude rose over 5% to trade at $102 a barrel, with escalating tensions between Russia and Ukraine. Silva, however, expressed hopes that the oil prices will come down to an amount the country can afford. We'll take a break now and return with a review of the stock market. The bulls regained vigor at the end of today's transactions on the equity sector of the Nigerian Exchange Limited amid sell-offs and buy interest. The all-share index increased by 0.14% to close at 47,272 basis points. Meanwhile, the market capitalization increased by almost 35 billion naira at the close of trading, which is why the market value currently stands at 25 trillion naira. On the performance chart, eTransact gained 10% to become the best performing stock in the session. It was flanked by Learn Africa, who has a 24 kobo increase. From the rear of the chart, that's our top losers for today. Multiverse shared the most weight to lead the laggers chart. It was followed by J. Paul Gold as they recorded a combined 4 kobo loss. Our market summary sees a total volume of 340 million units of shares valued at over 3 billion naira, exchanging hands in 5,383 deals. Well, analysts had expected yesterday's bearish sentiment to filter into today's trading session amid bargain hunting in some counters spurred by cheap valuation and continued sell-offs in other counters. But you know, the market is never predictable. Moving on to the global market, it's all in the negative territory. The FTSE, UK's leading stock index, has plunged by 3% today as markets shudder in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine this morning. It's the same situation affecting the Dow Jones and even the Japan stocks Nikkei. Investors across board are cautious as Russia, brushing aside the threat of further Western sanctions, mounted a wide-ranging and long-fed attack on Ukraine earlier this morning. That's all on stock market reports. Over to Mary for the rest of the news.
Well, many thanks for that update, Abisola. And now on the global scene, Russian missiles and airstrikes hit Ukraine's capital, Kiev, and more than a dozen other cities across the country on Thursday, minutes after President Vladimir Putin announced a military operation with warnings of a full-scale invasion underway. Weeks of intense diplomacy and the imposition of Western sanctions on Russia failed to deter Putin, who had massed between 150,000 and 200,000 troops along the borders of Ukraine. Putin has also sent out warnings to those willing to compromise the security of his nation, saying they should be prepared to face their consequences. Putin's move came as Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky on Thursday said Russia was attacking his country's military infrastructure and border guards, but urged citizens not to panic and vowed victory. Well, it's time for Entertainment Report on News Now.
Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency have arrested singers Zino Liski and Mobad after a midnight raid on their residence in Lagos. This was confirmed by the NDLEA spokesman Femi Babafemi, who said cannabis and molly were recovered by the operatives. Meanwhile, Malian Records, the label where they are signed to, is yet to release a statement. This is coming weeks after the agency arrested fast-rising skit maker The General after a raid on his residence in Lagos. The General was immediately charged to court, where he was convicted of trafficking tramadol and cannabis sativa. The skit maker was, however, pardoned by the court on the grounds that the quantity of the drugs found on him was too small to earn him a sentence. VSL Media has unveiled first-look images for their forthcoming feature film, The Wildflower. Directed by Biodu Stephen, The Wildflower explores sexual violence and the story centers on 3 women faced with different experiences of assault from the men in their lives. The Wildflower stars Damilare Kuku, Toyin Abraham, Deyemi Okonlawon, Zubi Michael, Itinosa Idemudia, Baba Rex, among others in supporting roles. According to producer Vincent Okonkwo, the film is inspired by Niyaki Molaya's The Arbitration and Okechukwu Oku's Black Rose. And that is all that we have for you in the entertainment segment of News Now.
And now in sports, UEFA is set to hold an emergency meeting on Friday to evaluate the situation concerning Russia's invasion of Ukraine, with the former set to host the Champions League final in St. Petersburg in May. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson had on Tuesday said that Russia had no chance of holding European football's showpiece game if it invaded Ukraine. The final of European club football's premier competition is scheduled to be played on May 28th at the Gazprom Arena in St. Petersburg. There are currently 4 English Premier League clubs still involved in the last 16 of the season's Champions League, including Chelsea and Manchester City, 2 clubs that contested last season's final in Porto, Portugal. Well, that's the size of our news bulletin at this time. Many thanks for watching. I am Mary Kanu. Bye for now.